Good night and welcome to Mindful Life 107. Wow, that's a large number. I am your host, Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is the 13th of July, 2022. Let's discuss. Tonight we're talking economics. We're talking price of food because there was a piece of bacchanal that came out recently. Some people shared a picture of a bygone. For those of you who may be viewing on YouTube, because I'm streaming currently live on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube. If you're streaming live on YouTube or somewhere else and you just so happen not to know what a bygone is, it is a melongen, an eggplant, that purple fruit that is used for many other purposes on social media, but let's not get into that. But one of those had a price tag for $75? Was it $75 for a bygone? Your YouTube notification went out already. Yes, I know it did. So, just by the way, if you're streaming live on TikTok or on Facebook, feel free to head over to my YouTube channel at any point in time and subscribe there, Nathan Springer, over on YouTube. There's good benefit to it. You can see the stories as I read them, as I talk about them. You can see them scrolling behind me, etc., etc. And then you are able to catch up on the live because basically all the other lives are stored over there on YouTube. So, feel free to head over there and subscribe at any point in time. Good night, buddy Sophie. Okay, you do your thing, Sophie. Good night, Simoy. The price was a typo. Yes, I do know that. We're getting to that. So, the price was written on this bygone as being something like $75 or something like that. And it hit social media and it went viral. And the heads over at Massey had to come out in quick time to let people know, hey, that's not actually the going price of our bygone. Our bygone is getting expensive, but it has not yet reached that expensive. Greetings, Ronaldo Thorn over on Facebook. So yes, Massey had to come out and say it was all a mistake. Massey's CEO apologizes for price label error. Let bygones be bygones. Now, this is the amazing power of the social media era. A typo on your price tag in some one of your stores has your CEO having to speak to the press. Just someone going to the store and taking out a picture. I think many of us need to lean more into the power of social media. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of creepy cancel culture nonsense that some people try to take over social media with, but I'm talking about the general power of social media. I find some people take too long to whip out their phone when incidents occur. Like, if a police runs up on you and all of a sudden they are being abusive, we go live instantly. Like, the power of social media is amazing. We need to lean more into it. But yes, the bygone price went viral over Facebook and the CEO of Massey had to release a statement. It was a labeling error. An error on the part of staff led to the incorrect labeling of a melongen at a Massey Stores branch earlier in the week, according to Massey Stores CEO Roxanne De Freitas on Wednesday. It's interesting. Now, it was a typo. But here's what I'm curious about. Hey, good night. Yes, social powerful. That's very true. It is. Good night, Keisha Harris over there on Facebook. Here's what I'm wondering though. It was a typo. Okay. But if people bought the expensive eggplant, paid their money for it, already cashed for it, and no one made an issue about it, would it have still been a mistake? Would they have gone back through their files to figure this out? I wonder now, if you purchased an eggplant with that price, if you were so hungry for your bygone choker, whatever else you want your bygone for, if you were so hungry for your bygone that you purchased a $75 bygone, I wonder if you can carry back your bill and say, okay, this was priced wrongly, I want my refund for my bygone. I wonder. I really do. On Tuesday, a photo of a melangen for sale at Massey stores with a price tag of $75 was circulated on social media. Users ridiculed the supermarket chain and questioned how they arrived at this exorbitant price for the vegetable. Speaking with reporters after the opening of Massey store's new San Juan branch, the freighter said she was aware of the issue and added it was due to a mistake while labeling the goods. She noted the prices on items were readjusted after it was brought to their attention. What happened as soon as it was brought to attention, the products were all removed, and the reality is we made a mistake with the pricing on the product. So the product was removed, it was repriced and replaced. At Massey stores, we turn over goods very quickly and very fast. So what happens is we would have bought the goods, we would have bought them at a higher price, we would have put them out, and I would say we made a mistake on that price. I don't understand that. I'm sorry. Good night, Macmillan, Lady Mac over there on Facebook. Thank you for joining again. If you pay that, you don't even have that bill. If you pay $75 for a bygone, you should throw away that bill. Don't keep evidence of that. Don't even go for a replacement, because people might laugh at you when you go back to tell them that you paid $75 for a melangen. But to be very honest, I am not very sure what that explanation means. At Massey stores, we turn over goods very quickly and very fast. So what happens is we would have bought the items, we would have bought them at a higher price, we would have put them out, and I would say we made a mistake on that price. What buying them at a higher price has to do with the pricing label you put on them? I'm not sure what she's trying to say there. It was addressed. The good thing about social media is these things come to light very fast and we can treat with it. I would say a mistake was made on the price and we have adjusted the price. And yes, we are sorry for any distress caused by that. That is certainly not the Massey way of doing business. And sometimes, like anything else, we don't always get it right. The freighter said she was unable to see how much melangen was sold for at the moment, but noted the produce was priced per kilogram. I don't know about that, Nisi. I don't know who would have bought it for that price. Nisi says she believes people who may not have been as melanated may be the ones who buy the $75 bygone, but I am not the one saying that. Nisi over on TikTok is saying that. Karine over on Facebook says, good night. There are some people that believe higher the price, better the quality. Good for them. They need to meet some Trinis, because Trinis will give them as high quality as they want. Okay, higher the price, the better the... Okay, well, we will keep sending up that quality for you, sir. But it's not a typo, I think, because they are all different size, so it has to be the per price was wrong. Exactly, Keisha Harris. That is what I was thinking. Because when you look at the problem there, the problem wasn't a typo. The problem would have been they put in a wrong price per pound for melangen, because there were two different melangens in this picture. There were multiple melangens. It wasn't just one bygone, multiple melangens here. And all of them had a price calculated by the $30.39 per pound. Here's what I think actually happened. Because the price of bygone did go up. The price of bygone did go up. So here's what many of those groceries actually do. They buy from their farmers and their wholesalers, and they put ridiculous markups on it. And usually they try to beat down the farmers to pretty low to be able to put the ridiculous markup and still not seem too out of hand and too much away from the market prices. But what do you do when bygone is $20 a pound? What does one do in the grocery when bygone is wholesaling at $20 a pound? It's not the first time that this has happened. 5 grams of silver on the inside of that bygone. We need to start back supporting our local farmers market. That's very true. I'm all for that. Not even just the local farmers market. Link up with farmers. Get to know the actual farmers. Okay, this person farms bygone on a regular basis. You go buy them and buy your bygone directly from the farmer. Get to know some people. Trinidad isn't that big. You get relationships with farmers, and your food bill is going to drop dramatically. But yes, bygone $20 per pound, rains driving up produce costs. While farmers have been hard hit by heavy rainfall and resulting floods, government is working to bring undercover vegetable production on stream to stabilize production levels. Wayne, in as chairman of the National Agricultural Marketing and Development Corporation, NAMDEVCO, told Loop News the project is expected to become operational by the last quarter this year. The early Innes explained the current weather patterns have had a major role to play in driving up vegetable costs. The early onslaught of the rainy season and unusual successive days of rainfall from the start of June and even up to now has been a key factor. Rain has fallen almost every day. This has affected farmers' land preparation activity and has resulted in a decreased level of vegetable production. Because of this, we've seen in Basic Economics 101, the demand is greater than the supply. So with the regular supply scarce, prices have been shot up. The effect of the problem can be seen in the retail prices at markets on Wednesdays, around $20 per pound for melangen. There was a retailer. Where was this guy from? I believe from Arena Road. He was right. Omish Dudnat, who runs a market stall along Arena Road in Freeport, said he paid $20 per pound for melangen at the Macoya Farmers Market earlier this week. Dudnat said he was holding off on purchasing more stock as many of his customers could not cope with the higher prices. I am selling it off at the same price I pay because people buying, but they're not buying like they used to. So he bought his $20 per pound melangen, and he said, according to him, he had to sell it back at purchase price. He had to sell it back at purchase price. Oh, jeez. Play nice in the chat, please. And as Roni says, double tap the screen, get those likes flowing over there on TikTok, wherever you're viewing. If you feel so obliged, hit that like button. It does help. It really does help. So he bought his melangen, according to him, wholesale $20 per pound, and he has to retail it at $20 per pound because nobody is going to buy it more expensive than that. Now, if you're a grocery like Massey, where very likely these things have formulas, so your markup might be based on a percentage of whatever price you paid for the good. So let's say your markup on whichever good you buy is 50%. Good night, Richard Glubman. So let's say now you bought your melangen, your goods, at $20 per pound, and your automatic markup that reads out says that the markup is 10% on that. 50% on that, which would be $10 of that 20 added on, and now you end up with $30 per pound for your melangen and end up with ridiculous looking prices like $75. And then if that is the case, that they bought it for that kind of expensive price, and then because of what they usually do on their markup, that's what caused it to end up going over so much, then it actually makes sense what the Massey CEO was talking about when she said that we would have bought them at a higher price and would have put them out, and the price on them was a mistake. So it could be that the price of the melangen in wholesale went up so high, their usual formula for calculating their markup created a ridiculous price that looked too insane to the public. Now, if let's say bygone was $8 a pound and they were using that same markup, 50% markup, that would have been $4 on top of the $8 a pound. That would have been $12 a pound in the grocery instead of $8 a pound in the market. Same formula, same formula. But as the price goes up, that same formula gets kind of ridiculous. So I I want to give the CEO the benefit of the doubt. I mean, if she says it was a typo and a mistake, okay, but to me, it seems more like it it wasn't a mistake, the price. It was a mistake that they didn't realize the citizens of Trinidad were not yet at the level where we would take $75 for a melangen. Sweet pepper is $20 a pound in town. That's good for sweet pepper. Listen, personally, I'm like, not that I don't like sweet pepper. I could eat sweet pepper. I could like sweet pepper. But I kind of just don't understand the purpose of it. Like, I would have to go looking for where to put sweet pepper into my meal. Like, it doesn't have a natural fit in the meal. I have to go and create an avenue to put this sweet pepper into my food. And if you're selling $20 a pound, why do I care to go making a way to figure out how to put you into my food? Okay, you will stay there, Mr. Sweet Pepper. But my garden has some sweet peppers growing in it. To be fair, it's not me growing these sweet peppers, it's my mother. This is how I do my farming and gardening. You see any plants that are too difficult to grow and want to play temperamental, I am like, fine, I will not grow you. So tomatoes that you have to get a stick and tie them up and all that kind of drama business, I'll leave that for my mother to plant. I could do with or without the tomato choker, fine by me. Sweet peppers, I don't much care for it. That could go its way as far as I care. I am not planting anything that is going to give me a difficult time to grow. I do make markets, so I don't know how much anything costs. You're seeing it in big, Rooney. You're seeing it in big. We need some magic beans. Rooney saying it in big. She don't make market. She don't know how much anything costs. So Rooney, how you eating, Gil? How are you eating, Rooney? Who makes the market for you to eat? Who does that? Now, on the side of price gouging, the CEO of Massey gave her opinion about how the supermarket business is set up in Trinidad and Tobago. And she says because of that, fast food. Rooney, like, really, I'm disappointed. That's not good. That's really not good. Good night, Solomon Daya. Good night, Solomon Daya. I buy food out, eat my cousin food. Tisk. But yes, the CEO of Massey was giving a view into how the supermarket industry works in Trinidad and Tobago. She said, I can say to you, Trinidad and Tobago has one of the fiercest supermarket industry in the Caribbean. If you go around the Caribbean, you would see there are much larger monopolies. And the point she was making is that price gouging in Trinidad and Tobago is a much more difficult thing to do because we just have so many supermarkets, so many groceries, so many options. The options make it more difficult for price gouging to be effective. So if Massey attempts to sell $75 melangen, you can go to another grocery, you can go to another market, you can go to the farmer's market and buy it for a different price. Now, that's one of the good things with Trinidad and Tobago. When it comes at least to that grocery side food sector, we do have quite a bit of options. And that's why sometimes I squint at the idea of a lot of these companies always forming associations because sometimes these associations seek the best interest of the company, which many times isn't necessarily the best interest of the customer. So yeah, some of those associations, I'm not all for them, but the competition is a good thing. One of the negatives of this, though, has to do with the general Trinidad culture, the general Trinidad attitude. And that is that Trinidadians don't seem to like to use their options that way. Trinidadians seem much more to hold on to loyalty in making groceries for some strange reason. If you're a Massey shopper, you go to Massey. If the melangen is $75, well, I just might not buy the melangen this time, but I'll still shop at Massey. While a more responsive customer, from the moment prices start to seem a little iffy in one store, you switch to the next. Now, listen, something that I grew up learning and I realized was actually a fallacy. I remember when I was young, the older people always used to say, You go buy things in the main grocery. Don't buy things in the mini mart or in the little corner shops or by the little Chinese groceries. They're going to sell things more expensive. That's not true. I have come to the realization that the prices in the Chinese grocery on the corner, in the little mini marts, the prices in many of those small stores are just about the same as the price in the grocery. It's not much difference, to be very honest. Even things that once upon a time had ridiculous differences. So you would go into a small grocery and see a little sliver of cheese, and the price difference on that compared to a major supermarket, you'd be like, let's buy our cheese in the major supermarket. No, it's not that different. That's interesting. The competition in Trinidad and Tobago, I think, is a beneficial thing to us on that side. Vegetable prices skyrocketing, another article explaining this. And it does have a lot to do with the rainy season, how the rainy season began. Now, the rainy season, all this rain, I have been watching some farmers. That's difficult. That's difficult. If you have crops out there and they're halfway grown and then rain falls consecutively for days and waterlogs your field, floods out your field, and it lasts for 2 weeks. Not 2 weeks, sorry. It lasts for 2 days, 3 days. Some of your crops are already dead. Many of your crops are already dead. Many of them are already dead. And if the farmers are struggling to produce crops, obviously the prices for the customers would have to go up. Shoguna's Market vendor Mala Sitahal said the cost of pumpkins and some ground provisions have also increased over the past several weeks. Pumpkin was $150 and now it is $250. Everything just went up. You see, when you're talking small prices, you could not realize how these things go. Kathleen Budu says, I always buy from farmers and I buy my grocery from small supermarket. I like that idea. I think that's a good idea. I think that's how that's the direction more people in Trinidad and Tobago should be heading in. Build some relationships with your local farmers, with your local farmer markets, and buy from them. Buy from people you have relationships with. Our government should make a rule, a penalty for throwing away foodstuffs. I understand why that is a sentiment, but I wouldn't want our politicians making any more rules for us, to be very honest. I still pay $1 for pumpkin in Kelly Village. You know where to get it. That's why. But the mistake some people could make in understanding these prices when they are so low. If pumpkin goes from $150 to $250, that is nearly doubling in cost. That is nearly doubling in cost. Now, you could see it when it's that cheap. It's just $1 more per pound. But if you were to carry that up to $100, that's something that would have been $150 previously, would then be $250. That is a very large increase in a short period of time. Buy stuff when things are very cheap. I stock up if you have room. Yeah, I know some of the Trini older tanties are stock up specialists. My mother-in-law, her freezer is stocked. There's pumpkin frozen, cassava frozen. She could probably hold a feast. 2 weeks into a famine, and she could whip out a feast from from the frozen stuff inside there, from the frozen stuff in storage. When things cheap, I buy and freeze. What can when it expensive, I left it. Yep, I do the same. Hi, Hallie, what's up? One consumer who gave his name only as Tony said while he was not happy with the increases, he had little choice but to continue purchasing the fresh produce he enjoys eating. Tony says he does not blame the vendors for the high prices. Vendors are facing the same economic situation that we are facing, prices in the grocery going up. The only recourse they have is to raise the price of their produce so they could go in the grocery to buy the same things that all of us have to buy, Tony said. That's another thing. So the prices of the food stuff would have to deal with with supply and demand and the rain, etc., and etc., etc. But for the vendors themselves, for the farmer themselves, they are facing the same inflationary situations that the whole country is facing. They have to pay more for everything. And if they have to pay more for everything, then they would want to charge more for everything too. I wish Trinidad and Tobago had coupons. Roni says, Nisi, cassava, pumpkin, sweet potatoes, bag and freeze. Smart. Aranguez United Farmers Association General Secretary Barath Rampasad said several factors are driving the increases. Seeds have become scarce on the market, and the people who usually import these are complaining about the lack of foreign exchange. The cost of fertilizer has doubled, in some cases, tripled. Plus, labor is also a factor. So, on top of the rainy conditions we're having, on top of inflation generally in the wider society, you have the supply chain problems that were already affecting us even before the rainy season came drenching down. You had the fact that some of these importers of the seeds were not getting a reliable source of foreign exchange to be able to import them. Fertilizer prices are skyrocketing. Yes, and if all of these inputs into farming are skyrocketing, the fertilizer, I went and I was looking at some of the chemical prices because, as I said, I do a little farming and the prices are increasing. Those prices are astronomical. And truth be told, like many people like to talk about organic farming, and organic farming will in fact be cheaper. You'd use less fertilizer and it would be much healthier for you, etc., etc., etc. Now, I don't know how many of you are following what's going on in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, they had a real insurrection over there. People ran inside of the president's house, swimming his pool, burned down peace. Real bacchanal went on there. Now, the issues in Sri Lanka run pretty deep because I believe the same family was president, prime minister, and minister of finance also. So yeah, there's a lot of corruption too. But part of it was that Sri Lanka attempted to just, at the snap of a finger, change their entire farming economy over to organic farming. They attempted to do that. And now Sri Lanka has always had corruption, but they were able to at least feed themselves throughout the corruption through many of these years. But one of those pie in the sky, lovely futuristic ideas of just turning the entire Sri Lankan agricultural system into an organic system came to the minds of someone, and they did it. They tried to do it, and they crashed and burned doing it. So the reality is, if we're talking about intensive level agriculture, you need those fertilizer inputs, those pesticides, those chemical inputs. Like, if you want to continue the world the way we are going, where not that many people need to be involved in farming, you need the chemicals. Now, organic farming can work, but generally speaking, what you are basically talking about is going back to pre-industrialization style farming. So if that is the case, before the Industrial Revolution, by and large, how people would have farmed, it would have been like 75% of the population of a country, of a nation, of a city, of a civilization, whoever, would have had to have been involved in farming. A lot of labor would have had to go into that. And that's the thing with organic farming. Organic farming can be done, but it is extremely labor intensive. Now, here's the thing. I am an environmentalist, I like the environment. I'd like to preserve our environment. But I think if the world wants to go in that kind of environmental preservation direction, more organic farming style business, we need to change the direction we're heading into. So the direction we've headed in since the Industrial Revolution has been, we have mechanized and automated farming, allowing much more people to leave the farming sector and engage in many other various types of work and vocation. You can go and be a psychologist, a psychiatrist. You could be a pet trainer, a dolphin trainer, and all of those jobs. The main idea of those jobs, the reason you can do that is because there is a farm somewhere where a large machine is creating a lot of food, so you don't have to make your food for yourself. If we revert from those industrialized farming practices, then we will need to we need to take people from those other jobs and put them back into farming. To me, my vision of my environmentalist utopia is, I agree, we should send more people back into farming and agriculture. And I think we should reverse those two. The way we mechanized and automated agriculture and put people into some of those other jobs, we should mechanize and automate many of those other jobs and allow people to go back into agriculture. Personally, I think if we allow some more people to go out there and touch some real grass and dig in some real dirt and see real earthworms and all of that, I think we might get less depressed people out there. I think we'll get a more functional society and we'll all be happier. But that's just dreams and visions that may never actually happen. Of course, I know that. But if we were actually serious about doing those things, that's what we would do. We'd automate the entire public service and let all those public servants go back to farming. You go back to your home and allow automated technology to take care of the Port of Spain office side of jobs, and you go plant a tree and weed it and pull out some grass and mulch it and spend 8 hours of your day doing that and let automation see about the rest. That's actually the sensible direction if you want to see about the environment. But we know people are not really going to do that, and people have the choice not to. More people need to be in farming. Too many people are in office jobs, says El Chrome. And Roni says, I agree, people want too much suit and tie. User says, good night, you are so highly intelligent. Love to hear and listen to you always. Why, thank you. Why, thank you very much. You know, boost that ego. Thanks for that ego boost. Much appreciated. Blessed night, Flame On. Also, you have multiple profiles, Mr. Flame On. Flame On and the blue flame. I see a trend picking up somewhat there. There's a kind of trend there. All right. That's on agriculture. That's on agriculture and economics and how we spend our money, the price of food. The price of food is going up. The price of local food. The last one get hacked. Yikes. Well, tough. But I saw an article recently and I think it epitomizes the problem I have had. I don't know how many of you have been in the live long enough to see some of the content I did previously on the fact that I think Trinidad is committee country. Trinidad, whenever an issue happens, the politicians go and they form a committee. We're going to form a committee to look into it, and this committee is going to look into it. Now, I do not really like these committees because I think the committees work against us in multiple ways. What a committee often does is it takes heat off of the direct movement. So we had questions coming up in early January. We had questions from the unions because the government wanted to start a vaccine mandate. Way back then, we're going back in history. The union started to ask a lot of questions about the vaccine that had some interesting answers to be given. And instead of the government facing the heat on this topic, they pulled back and they formed a committee. a committee to look into the vaccine, look into our treatment, our healthcare system, and that committee lasted several weeks, and nobody really paid attention to the results after that. When the police shot some boys down in Morva, and they didn't have a good explanation for it, and it was caught on camera, and the residents started to act up a bit, the government ran down and they formed a committee. They formed a committee because the committee would look into this and will make sure that these residents, these communities are seen about properly. And the committee could just, it's like a pressure release valve. The pressure cooker is building up, and somebody just comes and committee. That's part of the problem. The next part of the problem that I don't like is I have this conspiracy that I believe. I believe university graduates the world around get themselves into positions of power and then make room for more university graduates. That seems like their mission. University graduates get into a policy creation position, and then they create a policy to give more jobs to more university graduates. It's like they are just there to create more jobs for themselves, creating that elite system that feeds itself over and over and over. And that's the next thing with this committee business. What the committee does is it creates an avenue to pay a lot of money to friends and relations and people that you know. If you are connected to the right people, you have the ability to get a lot of money, and then you are being paid this money while scapegoating a real issue in the country. So people are really worried about the issue of the police violence. We create a committee. So they take your legitimate worry, they pay some random people that you don't know, some technocrats, some professionals, some other university graduates that are experts in those fields. They pay them to come and present a report, and that's that. The committees are used to redirect responsibility. Kevon says, Elk Rome, the friends and family that implement the driver's permit to license transition. Now you're talking. They are organic fertilizer that can reduce dependence on chemicals, needs lots of infrastructure. Now, let's dive into the article that made me question this in the first place. MP Scotland paid $10,000. Work for Community Recovery Committee. Port of Spain South MP Keith Scotland received $10,000 to sit on the Community Recovery Committee, CRC, which was appointed by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley in 2020, pointing to the payment to Scotland, which is disclosed in the 2021 Auditor General's report. Opposition Senator Anil Roberts chided Scotland for the payment. As he noted, this was the very community that Scotland represents as a member of parliament. That's small money, boy. 10,000 is small money. Listen, are you passing that small money to me, please? I could do with some of that small money. If 10,000 is just small money, please link me some of the small money. I would like it, please, and thank you very much. Contacted yesterday by telephone, Scotland told the Express he did not ask for this money and it was paid legitimately to him. The phrase that comes to mind with the greatest of respect is fast and out of place. I know that it is alien to him, Roberts, that things would be legitimately approved. And if you note, the Auditor General had nothing untoward to say about it. I tell him, Roberts, to take out the yampy from his own eye, he said. Scotland said it may be that legitimate payments may come as a surprise to Roberts. I did not ask for it. That was what was recommended, and having done my work, I received it, and to be chided by him is too ironic. I really do not wish to meet his brand of politics, but suffice it to say that this was not a live sport payment or any such payment. This was a legitimate payment authorized, he added. Now, I understand where he's coming from when he's talking about the hypocrisy of Mr. Anil Roberts talking to him, and we know how that politics goes because we know how the live sport, well, some of us may have remembered how that live sport business went. Yeah, that got drastic. Listen, if you're too young or weren't paying attention back then or something, go read up some. Search keywords DJ Roberts live sport. Say no more. Say less. All right. Roberts also noted at the meeting that Michelle Benjamin is an MP and she's paid to look after her constituents and serve the people. He said Benjamin utilizes her salary, yada, yada, yada. Huh. Opposition MP Dr. Rudal Munilal also knocked Scotland's payment, saying it is like a father who is a taxi driver and he charges his children for dropping them to school. I do not particularly like Mr. Munilal, to be very honest, as a politician, but I must admit, I understand where he's coming from. He says this sounds like a father who works in taxi charging his children to go to school. The team was mandated to evaluate and design a path in 2020, following a week of fiery protests in East Port of Spain over the police killing of 3 men in Morva. Rowley appointed a community recovery committee. You see, when this committee was appointed, when they killed the young men in Morva, they appointed this committee that is paying the MP for the area $10,000 to write up a report. Where is the report? What positive has come from the report? We created a committee. The residents of East Port of Spain were rightfully angry over another police killing. They created a committee for it. Told the residents, don't worry, we're going to handle this. We are right on it. They created a committee and then went on and paid the MP. He is the member of parliament. He is the guy that is supposed to be the political representative for the district of Port of Spain South. And then he is paid $10,000 to sit on a committee to figure out how to help Port of Spain South. Yes, you really sound like daddy who is a taxi driver charging the children money as taxi passage. It really doesn't line up. And okay, you can say it was legitimate. Okay, you can say you did your work for it. But let's be honest, this thing doesn't make sense. I always charge my family. Most times I double the price. That's a different matter. If you charge your general family, it's different from charging your children, who you give the money to in the first place. And in this case, we're already paying him for it. And then he's going to charge us more for it. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And I find the excusing of these things to be terrible. Now, this is what I say regularly when I talk about the difference in corruption in the different parties. This is what I talk about with the People's National Movement. They have that kind of entrenched elite. They are the norm. They are the ones that have been here for the longest while. And they are so entrenched, these kinds of corruption are easy to come about. You get a seat on a committee. They know how to create the committees at a hat strap. They know how to change one letter in some organization, and someone has to be paid $20,000 just to get that one letter changed. Was that a part of his job spec? Anything outside of it should be paid for. I disagree. If your job spec is as the member of parliament for Port of Spain South, your job spec is you are the political representative for this district. That is your job spec. Then the head of the political party you are in charge of is appointing a group to decide and figure out how to help this same district? How do you pay the person who is the political representative to work on figuring out how to help that district? I don't understand that. That does not make sense to me. How does that work? It's like, you know what that's like to me? You know what reminds me of that? This happens in schools. Some of us might be familiar with this in schools. You have a math teacher in school, public school in Trinidad and Tobago. You have a math teacher who is being paid by our tax money to pay you, to teach you the math syllabus, the entire math syllabus. And they start at Form 4, and they're your Form 4 and Form 5 math CXC teacher. And then in Form 5, they come and tell you that, you know, we wouldn't really finish the syllabus. In order to finish the syllabus, you need to come and pay and go my private lessons to actually finish the syllabus. That is ridiculous. You are being paid to complete the syllabus in school. You can teach whichever private lessons you want. Yes, Ronnie, I know it happens all the time. I am saying that's not a good thing. And I am not of the view that we should be excusing this. Like we should be looking at these politicians and saying, like, I understand why he did that. You know, it was outside of his job spec. We could look at this and see it's nonsense. It's already a kangaroo court kind of committee that has no real purpose. The purpose of the committee is to distract attention from a hot button topic. We already could see this. And on top of using the committee as a distraction, you then use it as a slush fund to help pay your MPs extra money. Is it illegal? It might not be nice, but is it illegal? Ronnie, you sound like the People's Partnership in 2010 to 2015. That kind of talk scares me when I hear it about politicians. Here's why this scares me when I hear politicians say things like this. When I hear politicians talk about whether it's legal or not. Who makes the laws? Who is making the laws? The people who are making the laws come to tell us this horrible thing they are doing to us isn't illegal. But you're the one making the laws. So you come into an organization, a room that I am running, and I'm the one making the laws here. I'm the one making the rules here. I'm the one making the rules, and I keep tapping you, and you're saying, "But sir, Mr. Springer, I don't like you tapping me. Shut up." But sir, I don't like you. Shut up, I say. But sir, that's not against the rules. But sir, you're the one making the rules in the class. How could you tap me, say it's not against the rules, while you're the one making the rules? That's not a plausible excuse. It does not make sense. And I find that's the same thing seeming like it's going on there with the committee business. You're failing at your job as MP or something like that. That's kind of what you're saying here. You're failing at your job as MP. Why should the government have to come and employ an entire committee? Shouldn't that committee have been done through the MP himself? He's the MP for the district. Shouldn't he have been able to organize a committee? He should know the district. He should know who he has to talk to in his district to form a proper committee out of members of the district or something like that. Instead of paying a set of random people $10,000 to sit on a committee, write up a report that nobody is going to read. What are we doing? Riyadh Akan says, what I have to say is that you can't take sand and bread. Makes sense. He's an MP dealing with an issue in his community. There's no way he should accept payment for that. I agree. I find I find such a thing inexcusable. And these things really make me question these people, you know. As Ronnie said, when we first started this, that's small money. Now, to us regular people, $10,000 isn't exactly small money. But to somebody who is a member of parliament, very likely a wealthy person already, $10,000 is supposed to be small money. Why would you risk your integrity and name for $10,000. Like, if I was the MP in a situation like this, I am the MP, I am a politician. The Prime Minister, who is the head of my political party, is appointing a committee to help a community. Obviously, I should recognize that this payment isn't going to look good when the public sees it. How could you not recognize this payment isn't going to look good? And are you trying to tell me that as wealthy as you are already, you are willing to sacrifice your integrity and name for $10,000 to sit down on a nonsense committee? 10K? Really? 10? Like, they will steal the sweeties. They will steal the sweeties if you give them a chance. It's ridiculous to me. And then the righteous indignation he replies with. I understand him talking about the hypocrisy of Mr. Roberts. But to reply with this with righteous indignation, I didn't ask for that money. I went and I did that job and they recommended that money and they paid it to me. Oh gosh, like ease us up. Pay back that. Here's the thing. You represent a community that is already known to be one of the one of the more disadvantaged communities in the country. If you're an MP for that community, how could you reasonably take $10,000? $10,000 might barely be 3 months' salary for probably the average person inside of that community. You take 3 months average salary just to sit on the committee to say if we could help the community. If I was the MP, I would want more, Rooney says. That's despicable. I understand you're saying that as a joke, but that's a private citizen. I find it's despicable for people who want to lead us. It is despicable for people who want to lead us to have attitudes like this, where you are willing to say, I did my job, so they paid me for my job, while saying that, knowing you got that money that might be 3, 4, 5 months salary for the average worker in the same constituency you represent, the same constituency you went and sat on this committee for. Listen, I find some of these things to be black-hearted, to be quite honest. Black-hearted. Like, if I'm a wealthy person, I represent this community already. I'll say, okay, the money you're going to give this committee, here's what. Scratch the committee and pay that money directly to the community. Let's do something directly for the community. How much better would it have been if he got $10,000? I wonder how much the entire committee cost. Let's say that committee cost something like $150,000. Wouldn't it have made more sense you scrap the entire committee, take that $150,000 and invest it in South Portersfield? Like, forget about the committee. What are we doing with this committee? But no. It's very important that we give all of these other university graduates a job to do. Because when you graduate with a criminology degree, you have to get somebody to give you a job. And who else will give you a job but the government, taking the state and the taxpayers' money to give you a job to go and research something that doesn't need researching. That's why I said I find many university graduates seem like they just go out there with intention of making more jobs for more university graduates. It's ridiculous. Lots of the jobs that are created in that kind of thing are nonsense jobs that make no sense. We wouldn't have been any worse without anyone in that position. And for you to come out and talk about, I did my job, they paid me for my job. Okay, sir. All right. Okay. Ridiculous. What was the outcome of the committees? Well, the committees gave a report, and I haven't seen the report. That was the outcome. A report that no one has seen. Bear in mind, the SABGA report with the abuse into the homes from 25 years ago, that was another committee, Another report, another group of intellectuals and professionals and university graduates walking away with several hundreds of thousands of dollars of Trinidad money for something that did nothing in the end. Another committee. You know what? Hire me for all those committees. If you can't beat them, join them. I want to be the resident local on every committee. Hire me for the committees, please. Ridiculous. The report says the community is troubled. Long story short. Wow! Oh my goodness. Who would have known that East Port of Spain is troubled? We really needed to pay some people a couple $100,000 to figure that out. Real deep insight there, you know. That's not insight you could get just so, you know. You have to pay Mr. Scotland, the MP, $10,000 to get the insight to know that East Port of Spain is troubled. Wow. Wow. Incisive, perceptive. Just raises my pause, the kind of perception these committees have. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But such is the way of politics. I need to be on a committee. Party tickets hard to come by. Ha! Ha! Rooney, I hope you're not one of those begging for party tickets out there. You know? I hope you're not one of those, what is FOC? Begging for FOC tickets out there. You know? Be better. Be better. All right. That's all I have for now. Any other comments or questions before I dive out? I don't have a credit card, so you're not fancy enough for that, Rooney. When you see that, you are not the target audience. You are not stush enough to be up there. Like, I mean, people have whatever is their entertainment, but I find that amount of partying, like, it is too expensive for that to be my entertainment. Personally, if I was a party animal like some of these people seem to be, I would have gone the route of the guys who are in control of Yup Life, and like I'd have gone out to be a Shadid or something out there. I would have been throwing the party. And I want to be the one throwing the party. Any party I go to, I want to make money. If I love to party so much, I have to be a DJ. So you have to pay me to go to the party. If I love to party so much, I have to be a bouncer. Something of the sort. I cannot. This cannot be my vice. And I'm out here spending $2,000 a month just on entry to parties. I just don't understand that. Listen. I know a lot of us millennials have a problem when the older generation talk about, you know, when I was your age, I done had my house and land and thing and a boy, all your rails sticking and all you do have all your priorities set right, all your young people, and the millennials really hate that kind of talk because they talk about the boomers and the older generation. They messed it up for us all, and that's the reason we can't have homes. And I think part of that is true, but some of the criticism is true too. Millennials, the younger generation, the consumption is on an insane level. The amount of consumerism, listen, some of the young people that are worried about the global conspiracies, you will run with arms open wide into some of those global conspiracies because you are addicted to consumption. Once a fad can be pushed on consumption, it's going to catch a lot of us. A lot of us are addicted to consumption, and that's not a good thing. It's not a healthy thing, and it allows you to be led very easily. You are spending a little $1,000 to pack. What? Gil. Listen, you nearly offend me by that question. $1,000 to pack, boy. Listen here. Listen. I have a child on the way. Let's not get ridiculous here. Let's not get ridiculous. First year I missing FOC. But for me to go, I want complimentaries. Complimentaries or nothing. A party could never be worth that much. My vice could never be costing me so much. I'm sorry. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Anyway, that's all I have for now. For me alone, nah? I have school books to buy times 2 this year. I don't party. Correct, Nisi. Priorities. 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 Trinities consume because conserving for a home means 30 years an installment. They can't afford. I'm not sure I fully get what you said there, Curvon. All right. Anything else before I dive out? 10:24. But yeah, to me, you want to keep a lot of power in your own hands. Consume a little less, or at least be under the power, of consumption a little less. You can't let people that you are paying money to convince you that you have to keep paying them money so much. You have to be in charge of the consumption. The consumption cannot be in charge of you. Anyway, I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you guys again tomorrow night at 9 for the next Mindful Live. Till then, people spending up to $3,000 on change just to party. Listen, I saw some viral posts about some booth some people paid for with VIP inside of some club, and they charged them $1,000 something, like $12 extra. Like, how do you mean $12 extra? Whoa. Okay. Peace out, folks. Laters. It was nice. See you all again tomorrow night. Head over to YouTube, Nathan Springer on YouTube, if you'd like to catch up what we went through on the live. All of the lives are over there. Subscribe, Nathan Springer on YouTube. Until tomorrow.